Welcome back to the Combat Sports Media YouTube channel. And before we go any further, please subscribe if you already haven't done so, especially if you enjoy my content. And March 25th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, we got, I was going to do a Plant versus Benavidez preview, prediction, and breakdown, whatever the fuck. But then I remembered as I was speaking that I already did a video on that. So this video is going to be about Harrison versus Tim Tszyu. And I forget Harrison's first name like most of the time, so I'm just going to call him Harrison. Toney Harrison versus Tim Tszyu. I don't know exactly what the date for this is going to be, but it's going to be in Australia, okay? And, let's start with Toney first. Toney, in my opinion, he has a lot of good things going for him as a fighter. Especially if you don't know anything about him and you're watching him fight, you say to yourself, wow, this guy pretty much has everything. He's got hand speed, he's got athleticism, he's got good footwork, he's got good fundamentals, he's got good power, he's got good size. He's got, even as an athlete, he's got good work ethic. And he has good schooling. He's from the Kronk gym, or at least he's got that Kronk schooling. I believe he did spend some time with Emmanuel Stewart, as a matter of fact. And, so he's from that Kronk culture, if you will. He's from that Kronk camp, or whatever's left of it. Shout out to the great Manny Stewart, by the way. Rest in peace. One of the best trainers in the history of the game. One of the worst commentators. I could care less about hearing him talk about a fight while it's happening. But as far as a trainer is concerned, obviously one of the best in the game in history. But there's a problem with Toney. He dissipates. And, he could be winning, he could be dominating a fight like Floyd Mayweather, and then at the drop of a hat, just go out. And we've seen it happen many times. I was just watching his fight from like 7 years ago. I actually forgot it even happened. It was his fight with Willie Nelson on the undercard of Keith Thurman versus Luis Collazo, I believe, which took place on ESPN. In Florida, and he put on a great performance in that fight. He fought really good, and he was, you could kind of say he was dominating in certain ways, and he was clearly winning. And all of a sudden, he just gets knocked out. I believe he was like maybe 10th or 11th round, some shit like that, and. We've seen him go out in that particular fight. I think it was a few hard shots that did him in, along with fatigue. But the point I'm trying to make right now is not only have we seen him dissipate at the drop of a dime more than once, but in more than one way. We've seen him lose by TKO or knockout because he just wasn't able to withstand the power. And we've also seen him dissipate and go out because of fatigue. And we've also seen it as a combination of both as well. So the point I'm trying to make is he's not the most durable or sturdy fighter. That's actually his Achilles heel. Because other than that, the guy has everything. His IQ is pretty good as well. Like I said, good fundamentals, good power, good size for the weight, good hand speed, he has that Achilles heel, and it's burned him more than once. And but with that said, and with those deficits, he was still able to overcome and become a world champion in the sport of boxing. He beat the current reigning world champion, I believe. I believe it's the Charlo brother that's undisputed right now. He beat that guy. Toney Harrison beat that guy. Fair and square. And at the time, Charlo only had the WBC, I believe. So Toney became the WBC junior middleweight or super welterweight world champion, legitimately by defeating a reigning champion, who is now the undisputed champion. And in many ways, Harrison looks at this fight with Tim Tszyu as a outlet to get that fight again, and fight Charlo one more time to even things out with him. Because now they're 1-1. They had the rematch and Charlo obviously won because he's now undisputed. So Toney has character. He's got heart. He's got everything you need except for that Achilles heel. He's just not the most durable guy. His fatigue could catch up to him, especially if he's in with a guy that's really bringing that pressure and has that physicality. So that's Toney, you know. Tim Tszyu I'm not as familiar with, but the little bit that I did see, it's pretty obvious what he is, you know. He's a come forward, pressure guy. In many ways, he's like his dad, but his dad was more of a brawler and had more power, it seems like, for his weight class. Tim maybe doesn't have as much one-punch power, but he's more of a steady, more consistent. And I'm not saying he's better than his dad or anything like that. I'm just saying there's a difference in their styles. Even though they have a lot of similarities, TimTszyu was one of the hardest punchers to ever live at 140. And he was, as far as like what I would categorize him, he's the typical brawler. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, he's a very high level, technical but typical brawler, which means he's looking to land his one punch knockout blow and get you the fuck out of there, and he wants to just go home as soon as possible. That's what I mean by brawler. The brawler wants to knock you out and go home as soon as possible. And that's what TimTszyu did every time he stepped into that ring. His son, he is like that in some ways, but he's more of he has a higher work rate, and he has to put more leather on the person to get them out of there. He's more of he probably does have a little bit of one punch knockout power as well, but he's more focused on breaking the guy down. You know, he doesn't really expect to get the guy out of there with one punch like his dad used to do. Like it's a regular thing, you know what I mean? Tim, it seems like he's very disciplined. It also seems like he's been schooled really well. I'm assuming his dad has a lot to do with that. From a young age, I'm sure he was training him and putting him through workouts and teaching him a lot. And another thing I like about his dad and son dynamic is, I'm sure I'm sorry about that. I'm sure he's very supportive. I know he's very supportive of his son, and is very excited about the potential career that he's going to have. And he's very glad that he's following in his footsteps. But at the same time, he maintains a distance between himself and his son's camp, and he lets his trainers do their job. Unlike some fathers who can't decide whether they want to be a head trainer or be the guy outside looking in and just showing support. And again, disciplined athlete, has been schooled really well. He's a pressure fighter that's looking to break you down, and he has decent power. And I don't know exactly how big he is, but Harrison's about 6'1" with a decent reach. He's going to be the longer, taller guy, but Tim is probably around 5'9". and you know, he's obviously got shorter arms than Harrison as well. So he's going to be the one coming forward, which is what he's going to do and likes to do anyway. And he's going to look to put the pressure on Harrison and break him down. And that's all I got to say about TimTszyu, because honestly, he's not someone that I've watched many times or anything like that. I haven't even properly studied the guy. This is just based off of what I have seen. And, you know, you can't blame me for that, because the guy he's only fought so many times on TV and stuff, especially in America where I reside. You know, I live in Puerto Rico, and, you know, he's just making his noise over here on this side of the world. So this is going to be his first legitimate test on the world-class level. Now let's go on to the prediction. I predict a TimTszyu win. Quite simply because as good as I think Harrison is, and as high as I am on him as far as a fighter is concerned, I can't trust the guy. I mean, the fight that with Willie Nelson that I saw earlier today or yesterday, he was dominating the fight seemingly, and all of a sudden he just dissipates at the drop of a dime and gets knocked out. I cannot bet or pick a guy like that to win any 50-50 fight, which is what I think this is, or even 60-40 fight. Now, mind you, he is the kind of fighter that see, this is the thing. Toney is the kind of fighter that could beat any fighter on any given day, but he could also lose to almost any fighter on any given day. And when it comes to 50-50 or 60-40 fights, I can't go with a guy like that. I'm sorry. I like watching you fight. I think the world of you as a fighter, but I can't trust you. What do you expect? You dominate a guy for like 10, 11 rounds, and then you get knocked out at the drop of a dime like 3, 4, 5 fucking times? Give me a break, man. I can't trust you, dog. So for that reason, TimTszyu. Peace.